I must say that local self-government is one of the most innovative governance change processes which India has gone through. You by now very well know that local self-government or local bodies as a concept is based on democratic decentralization or taking democracy to grassroots level. This local self-government is primarily for making democracy real, functional, meaningful, vibrant, and it means engaging and involving people in planning and governance at grassroots level. Local self-government has long history in India. It's not that it has evolved only after independence when we drafted the constitution for ourselves. I would just like you all to remember that if we see our Rig Veda, right? If we see in the time of Rig Veda, that is around 1700 BC, we get evidences, they suggest, right? Evidences are suggesting there were self-governing bodies at village level and they were called sabhas. Not only that, when you will read ancient Indian history, then you will learn about that in the days of Maurya, village and districts these were units of administration. Not only that, what you will find in addition to this, that during 8th and 9th century, in rules of Pandyas, as well as Pallavas, system of local self-government existed. There was system of local self-government existed. Okay, but not very well organized system was there. Very well organized we saw during the time of Cholas. In later times, well structured system of local self-government. But I am not interested in going into the ancient, medieval and modern history. Little bit I want to talk about British time. Now on modern lines if you ask me, the beginning of modern system of local self-government started in 1687. Okay, I can say that beginning of modern system of local self-government. And how it began? See, Britishers came to India, and they came to India as a trading company, and gradually they gained control over the local administration. So wherever they used to stay, they were, looking for cleanness, hygiene. They were looking for good roads, well illuminated streets, well maintained localities. But they were of the view that they should not spend their money for this purpose. And this is how the system of modern local self-government started during the British time. In 1687, for the first time, Britishers established municipal corporation at Madras. So when Britishers established the municipal corporation as a local self-government body in 1687 at Madras, it is seen as beginning of modern system of self-government in India. Thereafter, in 1793, through Charter Act, they established municipal administration in three presidency towns. And there is no need for me to tell you the presidency towns were Kolkata, Calcutta in those days, Bombay and Madras. So for the first time, the municipal corporation was established as a local self-government body way back in 1787 at Madras, but in 1793 through Charter Act, through a statutory backing, through legal backing, they created municipal administration in three presidency towns, that is Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. Okay, and I would just like you all to remember in this series, while we are talking about the evolution of local self-government in India, I would just like you all to remember this, that after they constituted this in 1842, district towns of Bengal, this municipal administration was extended to district towns of Bengal, and for this the Bengal legislature passed Bengal People's Act. Bengal's People Act of 1842 was passed, and the concept of municipal administration moved out of presidency towns in Bengal, moved out of Kolkata, and it reached to other district town as well. But I would just like you all to remember this, that this year 1870 is very important, because this was the year when we saw Lord Mayo's resolution. And this resolution during British rule initiated the process of decentralization. Okay, Mayo's resolution. So more powers were given through this resolution for provinces and through provinces towards people. Okay, so this is why you should remember that year 1870 marks a very important stage in the evolution of local government in India through Mayo's resolution, Lord Mayo's resolution. What got initiated in India? The process of decentralization got initiated. But I would just like you all to remember this, that actually the father of, right, the father of local self-government in India is Lord Ripon. Lord Ripon. He is regarded as father of local self-government in India, father of local self-government in India. When he was the viceroy, a resolution was brought that is famous in the name of Ripon's resolution. Ripon's resolution. Ripon's resolution of 1872, and actually this resolution laid the foundation of local self-government in India. I hope you all are aware that Ripon was a very liberal Governor General or Viceroy, and when there was demand coming from the educated and intellectual Indian citizens for their active participation in administration and governance, Ripon could not resist the demand, and he was of the view that we must create a local system of governance in India in which the local people should be given role in administration and governance. And during his time, for the first time, we saw emergence of a scheme where people were asked to participate in local government. So I would just like you all to remember this, that process of decentralization in administration started in 1870 when Lord Mayo was the viceroy, and Lord Ripon's resolution of 1872 actually laid the foundation for beginning of the local self-government in India. This is the reason why, right, this is the reason why Lord Ripon is considered the father of local self-government in India. When this resolution, right, when this resolution was brought during the time of, right, during the time of Ripon, then we saw that people started participating in local administration because there was well defined powers, finance for local self-government. Okay, local self-government. But what I would just like you all to remember, that after this, okay, you should remember that when we were in the process of drafting the Constitution of India, when Constituent Assembly was in the process of drafting the Constitution of India, in Article 40, that is in Part 4, and Part 4 is what? DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. We included organization of village panchayat. You know why? Because Gandhi, our father of nation, was very much convinced that there is a need for Gram Swaraj in India. He was of the view that we should have self-sustaining village as far as economy is concerned, And even in matter of administration, there must be more powers at the village level itself, and this is why he coined a term Gram Swaraj. And Gram Swaraj is one of the very important component within Gandhian principles. So he was always in favor of decentralization. Empowered citizen in comparison with empowered government was what was favored by our father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who said that a state in which we have empowered citizen, by default, the state will be very powerful. Okay, so when we were in the process of drafting the constitution, the founding fathers of Indian constitution, the members of Constituent Assembly thought that let's include the organization of village panchayat in DPSP, meaning the state will have to go for it only when resources are supportive. Otherwise, it will remain as a directive for states, but it will not be the negative obligation for the state, but it will remain positive obligation for the state. So when we drafted the Constitution of India, after intense brainstorming, the founding fathers decided that organization of village panchayat should be included in part 4, that is directive principles of state policy, and within article 40 what was written, organization of village panchayat. Not only this, the fifth entry in state list, and this fifth entry in 7th schedule. So within 7th schedule, 5th entry in the state list deals with local government. Right, local government. So I hope by now you know very well that subjects which are mentioned in state list, for that state legislature can legislate. Okay, so we included local government within state list in the 7th schedule, and we thought that different states, depending upon the socio-economic political situations and circumstances, they will enact law for local government. Now, what happened? That we got independence, we drafted the constitution. The Constitution of India came into enforcement on 26 January 1950, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister of India, first Prime Minister of India. In 1952, we saw launch of a scheme which was very close to the heart of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and that scheme was CDP. 1952 CDP, Community Development Program. Community Development. Post-independence evolution is very, very important from exam point of view. Community Development Program. Okay, so a very ambitious scheme was launched, and rather this whole scheme was prepared by Planning Commission, which now has become Niti Aayog, National Institution for Transforming India, Niti Aayog, but in earlier times it was in the name of Planning Commission. So Planning Commission conceptualized a wonderful program way back in 1952, which was very close to the heart of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, then Prime Minister, the first Prime Minister of India. That was CDP, Community Development Program. And this CDP, Community Development Program, was actually focused, on transforming the socio-economic aspects of village life, transforming the socio-economic aspects of village life through people's own cooperative and democratic organization, people's own cooperative and democratic organizations. So, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, was very much influenced by Gandhian principle and particularly Gram Swaraj. So, when he became the Prime Minister for the first time, immediately in 1952, he thought that there is a need for transforming the socio-economic aspect of village life, and we can transform this by own democratic and cooperative organizations. For this, a wonderful program which was conceptualized by Planning Commission was launched in the name of CDP, Community Development Program. Okay, so Community Development Program. A year later, in 1953, another program was launched in the name of NES, that is National Extension Service. National Extension Services. National Extension Services. And this NES was nothing but it was amplified version of CDP. It was amplified version of CDP. Amplified version of CDP. So, you know very well, in CDP, we conceptualized transforming the socio-economic aspect of village life through people's own democratic and cooperative organization. In NES, that is National Extension Service, we decided to focus on, this was focused on transfer of scientific and technological knowledge to agriculture, animal husbandry, and third, rural craft or craft sector, you can say. Now you see, if we will transfer the scientific knowledge and modern technology to agriculture, animal husbandry and craft sector, it will transform the village life. So this is why experts are of the view that this National Extension Service scheme which was launched by Government of India in 1953, it was nothing but amplified version of CDP, where the focus was to transfer the farmers should adopt scientific way of farming. Similarly, those who are rearing cattle, they should also adopt scientific way of cattle rearing. The people who are engaged in craft, they should also use modern tools. So, through all this, we will transform the socio-economic life of village. So I just want you all to remember that 1952 was the launch of CDP. A year later was the launch of NES, National Extension Service, and these two schemes were very, very close to the heart of then Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. But after the launch of these two programs, what government realized that despite best of the efforts which the government was making, despite huge money which government was spending in the name of these two programs, the programs were not successful the way government was interested, the way government wished. And this is the reason why government constituted a high level committee. So government constituted a committee in 1957, right? Government constituted a committee in 1957, and this committee was constituted under the chairmanship of Balwant Rai Mehta. Very important, Balwant Rai Mehta committee. Okay. And this committee was given the task to examine the working of CDP and NES. It was asked to examine the working of two programs. One is CDP, Community Development Program, which was under implementation since 1952, and an amplified version of CDP was NES, National Extension Services, which was under implementation since 1953. So this committee was headed by very well-known person, Balwant Rai Mehta. And this committee was constituted in 1957, and it submitted its report in 1957 itself. Now the report which Balwant Rai Mehta committee gave to government, in that report it said that any program like CDP and NES can only be successful if we create local self-government in India. Okay, so this committee in its report very strongly recommended for democratic decentralization and creation of Panchayati Raj system in villages if we want schemes of union government or state government to be successfully implemented on ground in villages. So I would just like you all to remember this, that Balwant Rai Mehta committee in its report very strongly recommended for democratic decentralization. It recommended for democratic decentralization by establishing Panchayati Raj system in villages, and only through democratic decentralization and creation and establishment of Panchayati Raj system, schemes like Community Development Scheme CDS or National Extension Services scheme can be successful. So Balwant Rai Mehta committee very strongly recommended for democratic decentralization through creation of Panchayati Raj system. I would just like you all to remember what all was suggested by Balwant Rai Mehta committee. So I would just like you all to remember all these things. Balwant Rai or R-A-Y, Ray, Balwant Ray Mehta Committee. So I am going to just tell you what this committee in its report recommended government. So first I said that it suggested democratic decentralization, by establishing Panchayati Raj system in villages. Number one. Number two, it suggested three-tier Panchayati Raj system in India, in rural India, three-tier Panchayati Raj system. What was the three-tier Panchayati Raj system? Panchayat at village level, then it suggested Panchayat Samiti. So Gram Panchayat at village level it suggested. Then it suggested Panchayat Samiti at block or taluk or tehsil level, block level. Okay. And then it suggested Jila Parishad at district level. And mind you, this is not the way Panchayati Raj system is there in India. This is what was suggested by Balwant Rai Mehta Committee. And for what purpose this committee was constituted, what it recommended is what I am discussing right now. So it said that only through democratic decentralization by means of creation of Panchayati Raj system we can think about schemes like CDS and NES to be successful. And it said that if you want Panchayati Raj system in India, then we should have three-tier Panchayati Raj system. And within the three-tier Panchayati Raj system in rural India, we should have Gram Panchayat in every village. At block level, we should have Panchayat Samiti. And at Jila Parishad, right, district level, we should have Jila Parishad. Now this Balwant Rai Mehta Committee said that there should be, right, transfer of powers and there should be transfer of resources to these bodies. Okay, there must be transfer of powers and genuine transfer of power, and there should be, right, transfer of bodies. The Balwant Rai Mehta Committee in its report said that this village panchayat should be constituted through direct election. Meaning people from village who have voting rights should vote and should elect representatives which will constitute village panchayat. So the committee recommended that through direct election, Gram Panchayat should be constituted. Whereas it suggested that Jila Parishad and Panchayat Samiti should be organically linked. Meaning what? As far as Panchayat Samiti is concerned, members of Panchayat Samiti will be elected by the members of different Gram Panchayats. And members of Gram Panchayat and Panchayat Samiti should participate in the election of Jila Parishad and they should elect Jila Parishad member. Okay, so what was suggested? That Gram Panchayat should be elected, constituted through direct election, whereas Panchayat Samiti whereas Panchayat Samiti and Jila Parishad, these should be organically linked. Organically linked. This should be organically linked, meaning there is no need to conduct direct election for constitution of Panchayat Samiti and Jila Parishad. Let the member of Gram Panchayat participate in electing the members for Panchayat Samiti, and let Gram Panchayat and Panchayat Samiti members together elect the members for Jila Parishad. Okay, Jila Parishad. But this also suggested in its report, right? This also suggested in its report that DM or DC of the district should be the chairman of Jila Parishad. So a bureaucratic chairman of Jila Parishad. Who should be the chairman? DM or DC of the district. Okay. Now what I would just like you all to remember, that Balwant Rai Mehta committee, while examining the working of community development scheme and the national extension scheme, very strongly recommended for democratic decentralization by means of creating Panchayati Raj system in rural India, and it suggested what should be the structure, what should be the format of the Panchayati Raj system. It suggested 3-tier Panchayati Raj system in India. Now, since, what you should remember, that since this community development program was conceptualized by Planning Commission and was being implemented by Planning Commission, when this committee report was submitted to the government, the report was placed before NDC, National Development Council. You must have studied that when there used to be Planning Commission used to approve the plan, used to prepare the plan which was approved by National Development Council. So when the report of Balwant Rai Mehta committee was placed before the National Development Council, then NDC approved the report, but with one change. Okay, so government accepted the report, we can say, but with one change. And what was the change? It said that let states decide on their own that whether they want 3-tier Panchayati Raj system, or whether they want 2-tier Panchayati Raj system, or whether they want, more than 3-tier Panchayati Raj system in their respective states, depending upon their specific needs. Okay. So when it was put before NDC, NDC very powerfully said that since we are talking about democratic decentralization, we should not suggest a very rigid structure of Panchayati Raj system to be created in each state in India. So very, very important, right? Very, very important that you should remember that Balwant Rai Mehta committee report was approved by NDC, meaning accepted by government with one change, right? So the committee report was approved and accepted by National Development Council with one change. And what was that change? The change was, right, the change was that there should not be a single rigid pattern. There should not be a single rigid pattern. There should not be a single rigid pattern, and it should be left to states to decide on their own, right? Decide on their own the structure of Panchayati Raj system. Panchayati Raj system for their state. Okay, so what kind of structure will suit the existing politico, socio-economic conditions of the state? On that basis, the state should decide on own. So everything else which was suggested by Balwant Rai Mehta committee was accepted, that there must be democratic decentralization, there must be Panchayati Raj system, there must be multi-tier Panchayati Raj system, but whether it will be 3-tier or not, it should be left for the states to decide on their own, because they found it very paradoxical that on one hand you are talking about democratic decentralization, but on other hand you are suggesting a very rigid structure which should be for Panchayati Raj system in rural India. This is the reason why the National Development Council, after intense brainstorming, decided to accept and approve everything else which was recommended by Balwant Rai Mehta committee, except a single rigid pattern of Panchayati Raj system. Okay, so after the report was approved, Rajasthan became the first state in India. Rajasthan became the first state in India to create Panchayati Raj system. Okay, in 1959, and within India, the scheme was inaugurated in one of the district on which they have asked many times a question, Nagaur. So Nagaur district in Rajasthan became the first district of India to have Panchayati Raj system on 2nd October 1959. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, then Prime Minister of India, himself inaugurated the Panchayati Raj system in Nagaur district of Rajasthan. After Rajasthan, in the same year, Andhra Pradesh created Panchayati Raj system, and today it holds the distinction of being the second state in India to start with Panchayati Raj system, and thereafter it was adopted in other states as well. But since there was no law as such, so gradually the Panchayati Raj institutions which were created in different states in India, they became non-functional. For some or other reasons, what happened that the states decided not to hold elections, and that is why these institutions became dormant in most of the states in India. But I would just like you all to remember from prelims point of view, first state in India to have Panchayati Raj system is Rajasthan. First district in India to have Panchayati Raj system is Nagaur district of Rajasthan. And since NDC said, right, that states can have their own structure of Panchayati Raj system, so some states in India adopted 2-tier Panchayati Raj system. Some states in India adopted 3-tier Panchayati Raj system, and some states like West Bengal adopted 4-tier Panchayati Raj system. In addition to Gram Panchayat, Panchayat Samiti, Jila Parishad, in West Bengal we saw creation of Nyay Panchayat. So Gram Panchayat only for implementation of program related with administration, but Nyay Panchayat to adjudicate disputes at local level. So West Bengal became one of the state in India which decided to go for 4-tier. But most of the states, right, most of the states, they adopted 3-tier Panchayati Raj system, and some of the states, they adopted 2-tier Panchayati Raj system. But unfortunately, slowly, these Panchayati Raj institutions which were created in different states of India, as per Balwant Rai Mehta committee recommendations, accepted and approved by NDC, gradually got dysfunctional. Okay, now what happened, right? What happened that you know very well, that after Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Lal Bahadur Shastri became the Prime Minister, but his term and tenure, though was very eventful, but was very short. And then Mrs. Indira Gandhi became the Prime Minister of India. You know very well that many big decisions were taken by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, but one criticism which is about her, that she was more autocratic in her style of functioning and less democratic. And this is the reason why you cannot expect that Panchayati Raj institutions which were based on the concept of democratic decentralization to remain strong on ground during the Prime Ministership of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. So this is why nothing much happened. But when Janata Party came to power in 1977, after national emergency, with overwhelming majority, Janata Party was voted to power. And the moment they were voted to power in 1977, it constituted a committee under the chairmanship of Ashok Mehta. Ashok Mehta committee was constituted. Ashok Mehta committee was constituted, and this committee was asked, right, to study the Panchayati Raj institutions in India, Panchayati Raj institutions in India, to study PRIs in India, and to suggest ways and means through which Panchayati Raj institutions can be strengthened and can be empowered. Ashok Mehta, a well-known IAS officer, right, under his chairmanship, this committee was constituted. Okay, this committee, right, this committee worked very, very sincerely, and it submitted a fantastic report to the government. But unfortunately, by the time it submitted report to the government, Janata Party government was, out of power, and Indira Gandhi government was voted back to power. Now this Ashok Mehta committee gave its report, submitted its report, and in this report, right, in this report, 139 suggestions were given. 139 different suggestions were given for making Panchayati Raj institutions strong, vibrant, lively, but unfortunately none of them were accepted by then government, because Mrs. Indira Gandhi, when was voted back to power, she thought that this committee has reviewed something which was so close to heart of my father, that is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and how can they suggest changes? So none of the recommendations were accepted by the government. Since none of the recommendations were accepted by the government, there is no point talking about the recommendation. But one very good suggestion was that this Ashok Mehta committee in its report recommended two-tier Panchayati Raj system. Two-tier Panchayati Raj system. So it recommended strongly that 3-tier Panchayati Raj system should be replaced with 2-tier Panchayati Raj system, and it said that rather than administrative unit to be the basis for Panchayati Raj system, population should be the basis. Okay, and what it suggested? It suggested Mandal Panchayat, Mandal Panchayat for 15,000 to 20,000 people within the district, and then Jila Parishad at district level. Jila Parishad at district level. Now what this Ashok Mehta committee in its report said, that there are too many representatives. Now if you see, every person in village is being represented by a member in village panchayat, a member in panchayat samiti, a member in Jila Parishad, an MLA, an MP. So when he is approaching the elected representative for some work, then one representative is diverting him or her to another representative, saying that this is not under my purview, this is not under my jurisdiction. And this is what slowly is uprooting the faith of people in democracy. Faith of people is getting uprooted from the scheme of elected representative, because when he is going to a village panchayat member, he is saying, I have my sympathy with you, but I cannot do anything. If you want your work to be done, please approach Jila Parishad member. When he is approaching Jila Parishad member, he is saying, my full sympathy with you, but you approach member of parliament. He is finding it so difficult to reach out to member of parliament, and on some occasion, rare occasion, if the individual is able to reach out to member of parliament, he is saying this work can be done by MLA. So he is again approaching MLA. This is what is happening. Even Ashok Mehta committee in its report said that different villages are of different size and population in India. Some villages are exceptionally large, some are too small, some have population exceeding 40,000, some of them have population less than 2,000. So he said, keeping all these problems in mind, we should have 2-tier Panchayati Raj system, and Mandal Panchayat should not be at administrative unit level, but it should be at population level. Meaning for every 15 to 20,000 people in the district, there should be a well demarcated, well defined Mandal Panchayat. In plain area, for 20,000 people, there can be Mandal Panchayat. In hilly area or such areas where the population density is less, it can be for 15,000 people. Okay, but at district level, there should be Jila Parishad. But there is no point talking about Ashok Mehta committee report, because none of the recommendations were accepted by the government. Now what you need to remember, that after this, a very important committee was constituted in the year 1985. In the year 1985. And that was under the chairmanship of G.V.K. Rao. G.V.K. Rao committee. Okay, by this time, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister. He represented generation next in Indian politics, a very young Prime Minister. In his early 40s, he became the Prime Minister of India. And he was having a completely different mindset when he became the Prime Minister of India. Okay. And one thing which was very close to the heart of Rajiv Gandhi was Panchayati Raj system. Science and technological development and Panchayati Raj system, these two were very close to the heart of Rajiv Gandhi. So in 1985, a committee was constituted under the chairmanship of G.V.K. Rao, and this committee was asked, right, to study the administrative arrangement in India, administrative arrangement in India for rural development and poverty alleviation programs. Poverty alleviation programs. So Rajiv Gandhi government was in favor that there must be a expert study done about the arrangement which we have, administrative arrangement which we have in India for rural development and for poverty alleviation program. Why is it so that when New Delhi is making all out efforts for accelerating the pace of development in rural areas and to eradicate poverty, yet we have not been successful in accelerating the pace of development in rural areas, and we have not been successful in bringing down the incidence and level of poverty in rural India. So an administrative arrangement for rural development and poverty alleviation programs must be studied properly, and for this purpose only what was constituted? G.V.K. Rao committee was constituted. And friends, you know, this committee suggested many things, but one thing which it commented in the opening paragraph of its report was an eye-opener. And you know what was it? This G.V.K. Rao committee said that Panchayati Raj institutions, Panchayati Raj institutions got bureaucratized and it got divorced from local bodies. And this is the reason why Panchayati Raj institutions in India are grass without roots. So very strong comments were given by G.V.K. Rao committee. It said that bureaucrats, civil servants have hijacked the rural development programs, poverty alleviation programs, and the elected representatives, their role is very limited, and this is the prime cause of why these programs are not successful. So two things you should remember about G.V.K. Rao committee report. First thing, right, the committee said gradual bureaucratization of Panchayati Raj institutions. So, the elected representatives of Panchayati Raj institutions have no power and they got completely hijacked by bureaucrats, civil servants. Okay, and this is the reason why PRIs are grass without roots, in democracy. Okay, in our democratic structure and democratic setup. I don't want to go deeper into what G.V.K. Rao said. G.V.K. Rao said that civil servants who have gained control over Panchayati Raj system, and through Panchayati Raj system they have gained control over rural development programs and poverty alleviation program, are finding it very easy to eat away the benefits which are for poor and weaker section of society for rural India. So it indicated the level of corruption and contamination in the administrative arrangement for rural development program, because they got hijacked completely by bureaucrats and elected representatives have no role. Okay, so gradual bureaucratization of Panchayati Raj institution has made these institutions grass without roots. This was the comment of GVK Rao committee. When this was seen by the government, it thought that only way left is to create a committee. So LM Singhvi committee was constituted. LM Singhvi committee was constituted. Committee was constituted in 1986, and this committee was constituted for revitalization of Panchayati Raj institutions for democracy and development. Democracy and development. So then Rajiv Gandhi government constituted a empowered committee which was headed by LM Singhvi, and this committee was asked to suggest the ways and means through which in India we can revitalize the Panchayati Raj system, and these Panchayati Raj institutions can only make our democracy vibrant and can accelerate the pace of development in rural India. Okay, now this LM Singhvi committee submitted its report in which it recommended very strongly that PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions must be given constitutional recognition. PRIs should be constitutionally recognized protected and preserved. Protected and preserved. Okay, then only we can revitalize Panchayati Raj institution. Then only through Panchayati Raj institution we can make our democracy vibrant and we can accelerate the pace of development. So LM Singhvi very explicit recommendation that give constitutional recognition, constitutional protection to Panchayati Raj institution, but this was only possible through amendment in the Constitution of India, and amendment in the Constitution of India is not that easy. What I would like you all to remember, after LM Singhvi committee report, an attempt was made in 1989, 64th Constitutional Amendment Bill was introduced in 1989, but it was passed by Lok Sabha, but it was not passed by Rajya Sabha. Okay, so Lok Sabha that was passed, but it was opposed in the Rajya Sabha, and this is why we were not successful in giving constitutional status to Panchayati Raj institutions in India. Again, you know very well, 1989 is the year which marked the beginning of Mandal and Kamandal politics. Mandal meaning caste-based politics because of, acceptance of report of BP Mandal Commission, and Kamandal politics is Hindutva politics, because that is the year when we saw Bharatiya Janata Party gaining prominence in Indian politics by raising the issue of construction of a glorious temple at, Ayodhya, Ram Janmabhoomi, Vivad and all those things. And Indian democracy entered into the era of coalition politics. But even in the coalition era, there was an attempt made for giving constitutional status to Panchayati Raj institution. Okay, and I would just like you all to remember that this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. Okay, so this Amendment Act, right, this Amendment Act was brought in 1992, but it came into enforcement only in 1993. I would just like you all to remember this, right? I would just like you all to remember this, that as far as this Amendment Act is concerned, 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act is concerned, it was passed by Lok Sabha in 1992, it was passed by Rajya Sabha in 1992 itself. Okay, it got the assent of the President of India in 1992 itself, but you know very well that any constitutional amendment which impacts the federal polity of India can only come into enforcement if 50% of the state legislature will ratify, and that ratification was achieved, right? That ratification was achieved only in 1993. So I would just like you all to remember this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act was passed by Lok Sabha, right? Passed by Lok Sabha on 22nd December 1992 itself. Rajya Sabha passed it a day later, 23rd December 1992. No need to remember these dates, but just for the sake of completion, okay. But this came into enforcement from April 20th, 1993, when after receiving the ratification from 17 state assemblies, President of India assented the Constitutional Amendment Bill. So this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992, which came into enforcement from since April 20th, 1993, gave constitutional recognition to Panchayati Raj, right? Gave constitutional recommendation to Panchayati Raj institution. I would just like you all to remember this, that through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992, we added a new part in Indian Constitution. So part 9 was added. Okay, and this part 9 was titled The Panchayats. Okay, and within this part 9, provisions related with panchayats were mentioned in Article 243 and 243, Article 243 O, alphabet O, it's not 0, O. So 243, 243A, 243B, 243C, and like that up till Article 243O, all provisions related with panchayats were included in this part 9, which is titled, right, the panchayats. Not only that, through this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, we included 11th schedule 11th schedule in Indian Constitution, and we have, right, we have listed, we have brought under the purview 29 functional items. 29 functional items have been brought under the purview of Panchayati Raj institutions in India. So I would just like you all to remember this as far as the evolution of Panchayati Raj institutions is concerned. Not only that, here only I would just like you all to remember that we also, through 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, through 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, Constitutional Amendment Act, have given constitutional recognition to urban local government, right? Urban local governments, okay, and this 74th Constitutional Amendment Act came into enforcement from 1st of June 1993. This 74th Constitutional Amendment Act came into, enforcement from 1st of June 1993. Through 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, we have added, right, we have added Part 9A in Indian Constitution, and all provisions related with, it is titled the municipalities, the municipalities, okay, and all provisions related with the municipalities finds mention in Article 243P onwards up till Article 243 ZG. Okay, so 243P, 243 Q, 243R, and like this 243Z, after that 243ZA, 243ZB, and up till 243ZZ, all provisions related with the municipalities finds mention in Part 9A of Indian Constitution. And I would just like you all to remember, right, I would just like you all to remember that through this 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, we also included 12th schedule under Indian Constitution, in which, right, in which we have brought 18 functional subjects under the purview of, right, 18 functional subjects, 18 functional items under the purview of the municipalities. So I would just like you all to remember that 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1993 gave constitutional recognition, protection to Panchayati Raj institutions, and we have added Part 9 in Indian Constitution. All provisions with Panchayati Raj institutions finds mention from Article 243 to Article 243O, and through this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, we also added one new schedule in the Constitution of India, that is 11th schedule, and through 11th schedule we have brought 29 functional items under the purview of Panchayati Raj institutions. Similarly, through 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1993, which came into enforcement from 1st of June 1993 onwards, we have given constitutional recognition to the municipalities and urban local bodies, you can say, and we have added part 9A in Indian Constitution, Article 243P to Article 243ZG contains provisions related with the municipalities, and 12th schedule of Indian Constitution, we have brought 18 functional items under the purview of the municipalities. Now, what are the structures and other provisions related with panchayats which finds mention in Indian Constitution as per 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1993, that we will discuss in other video. So, this is very important discussion related with evolution of Panchayati Raj institutions in India.